Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Illumineers Quest podcast, where we talk everything Lorcana. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jacob.
And thanks for coming on this journey with us. Okay.
I'm back.
Jake's back. He's
Hello.
feeling better, and he's back for I think the most anticipated episode that we've had. For me, the most anticipated.
This one's exciting. I know I've gotten really hyped over some other ones, so maybe as we go through this, I'll get even more hyped than I am already.
Well, it's just been anticipated because we'd asked the questions a long time ago. So without further ado, I'm sure you read the title, but this is the awards episode.
This is our Oscars.
Card awards.
Right? Or can we say that? Can we say Oscars?
I think you can say
Oscars?
that. So yeah, we asked the community on social media a bunch of questions, got everybody's feedback, and are going to go over which of the winner for each category. We also I did a kind of bad job planning for this one. Being the first time we've done this, I didn't do a best job. I've learned some lessons, so next time it'll be better. We have a couple questions that I couldn't fit on the survey, and so we're just kind of go over those real quick.
Couple categories.
So we'll get to all of that, but so awards episode. I'm super pumped. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be super epic, hopefully.
I hope so. I think so. But I just like to get one thing in here real quick. Massive shout out to Y Breezy. He filled in for me while I was gone. I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to Y Breezy, and really love the episode. But I just want to get that out there real quick.
Yeah. So, he's fantastic. It's just good to have him on, and I'm sure we'll have him back at some point because
absolutely
he said he'd be in for it. So, with that said, let's get into it. As always, everyone, thanks for following. You can follow us along on our YouTube channel at Illumineers Quest, on social media, Twitter/X at LorcanaPod. You can email us questions into the show at lorcanapod@gmail.com. All major podcast networks. And I didn't want to talk about this as much. Just kind of wanted to say it and move on. We have the TCG Player affiliate link that supports the show. I don't want to get into specifics, but the two listeners, I would imagine they're listening to this because if they're using the link, then they have to use it. But there are two listeners that have purchased cards through the link that spent a good amount of money, we'll just say.
You know who you are.
And we are extremely appreciative for the support. Seriously, thank you guys so much for everything. With Chapter 3 coming out next week, if you are looking at buying singles, or this week, I guess, when the episode comes out, if you're looking at buying singles, the affiliate link is in the description wherever you're listening/watching to this, and we appreciate the support.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so questions/comments from listeners. I got a question on locations from Adam on X, and just asked if we could go a little bit deeper into the locations. I think we've talked about it a little bit before, but again, it's so new.
We've usually skimmed over it.
Yeah, it's so new, and it's been a while, and now that all the locations are revealed, we can get a little bit more in depth. I don't want to go super, super, super deep because I think we need to do a refreshed how to play Lorcana with the locations in there now, because it does completely change it. So once at the beginning of Chapter 3, we're going to do an episode on that. So don't want to go incredibly deep, but yes, so locations are items that grant cards specific traits. For some of them, they're also kind of like items in the sense that they stay on the board and have to get removed, but they're kind of a cross between items and characters because they have willpower to be removed, unlike items who have to be banished by certain actions or characters. And so locations have a cost to play, just like every other card in the game, and they can be either inkable or non-inkable, just like every other card in the game. And so that one's in the top left corner, like normal. Then you have in the landscape view of the card, on the right-hand side, the willpower sign, which is again normal, like willpower characters. And that's how much damage it takes from challenges like characters or songs and actions it can take. And then the new indicator on this is on the left-hand side of the card when in landscape mode, and that's the cost to move characters to that location.
And yes, that's for them to be to be their home base for a period of time they're on there.
Correct. So, you can have as many characters as you want in any location. Obviously, you have to pay a cost for all of these, and some of them can be relatively heavy. But, the differences in locations can, again, grant you different actions. And so, Cusco's Palace, for instance, Y Breezy's favorite, since we already talked about him. The ability of that is whenever a character is challenged and banished while here, banish challenging character. So he based that location basically grants all characters there Cusco's ability from his Chapter 1 card.
And I love that, actually, that they're bringing in that little flavor piece from his actual card into his palace. That is really cool.
It's pretty cool. And then there's a location, Pride Rock, which gives characters more strength.
It's not Pride Rock. It is not Pride Rock. It's Pride Lands.
Pride Lands, sorry.
You got to get your stuff straight,
I'm still new to the whole Pride Lands. So yeah, that gives characters that are at Pride Lands more HP. And so again, just like any other character card that has an ability, those abilities apply to the characters that are in the locations.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty much covers the basics.
Well, and...
Oh, no, I did forget the lore.
The lore value.
So some locations have lore values attached as well. So like Cusco's Palace, for instance, I'm scrolling back to it real quick. I don't think has a lore value, or I'm probably getting that wrong.
You gotta go up again.
I scrolled past it because I was looking for other locations, and now I can't find it, and I'm stalling to try to find it. And let's... so talk about the lore value while I pull this back up.
So lore value is... When you have a character, is it when you have a character there? I believe you have to have a character.
No, it's a ready, set, draw. So on the ready phase of your turn is when that lore kicks in.
So it has a lore value. I think we've only seen the highest being two so far.
Correct.
But when it's ready, set, draw, during that phase, it automatically gains the lore on the card.
So not when you play it. So it's kind of like the drawing phase.
Yes.
It's not when you during any point of your turn you get the lore. It's at the ready phase, so that you don't get the lore the turn you play it. But yeah, Cusco's Palace has one lore. Pride Lands has one lore.
That's actually one thing to mention is locations don't dry.
Yeah, you can move there on play.
Yes.
The RLS Legacy has 2 lore.
Let's go.
So there are lore associated with them as mentioned, like McDuck Manor and Sapphire has 2 lore attached to it, and then there's a couple that don't have any lore at all, like Maui's Place of Exile does not have any lore, the Jolly Roger does not have any lore, and so there are ones that are, I guess, kind of reckless characters that don't have lore or can't quest. But yeah, that's locations in a nutshell. And again, that's kind of covers it all. But at a very high level, I think once we've had the chance to play around with locations and actually having the game and understanding the best time to move to them and stuff like that, then we can get a little bit more in depth once we get into Chapter 3. But that's how you actually play them. You play them like anything else. You use your ink. You put them on your play surface, you move characters to them. Given the cost, they have certain strengths or willpower to take out, and yeah, you gotta go from there.
I mean, locations are obviously highly anticipated because they're a brand new card type. Before this, we've only had the characters, songs, items. Well, no, we've had the 3. Am I missing one? No,
I mean, songs, if you want to... I mean, songs are an action, but they're kind of a difference. So that's why I said on the 4. But anyways, that kind of covers it. So hope that helps Adam. Again, we'll go a little bit further in depth on that in the coming episodes, I imagine. So
absolutely.
With that said, card of the week. Jake, you got a good one. So
I've been a little bit more into it with my Ruby Amethyst. I've been thinking a lot more, constantly changing, more so on a daily basis, the deck itself. But the card today is one I've brought in recently, and it's Merlin Crab. So this one has popped up within like the past week and a half or so, I would say, maybe 2 weeks.
It's been around for a while. You just weren't on the train.
No, I swear it's been 2 weeks.
No, I promise you it's been way longer than 2 weeks, but regardless.
You guys that love me and trust me, it's only been like 2 weeks. If you're out there, by the way.
So Merlin Crab.
If you're out there.
Is the 3-cost inkable and amethyst, just like the rest of the Merlins. He has an on play and a on remove action, which is grant chosen character challenger +3.
So I read this. I read this at first as like gains 3 strength, which it does not work that way at all. It's challenger free. I just want to put that out there. It is challenger free. So when they're challenging, gain 3 strength.
Yep. On the turn. So like on the turn he's played, and on the turn he leaves play.
Yes. I have found this most helpful in mirror matches, which I think is where it's mostly
Minnie Mouse Surfers.
Minnie Mouse Surfers, because I work in with this, you can fly, and so that kind of helps, which is an action card that gives your cards evasive.
Yep.
It's a song, I believe.
Yep.
So those kind of work in tandem if you want to take out mirror matches, and it's basically just all about the minis.
Yeah, taking out minis is, people are playing a lot of different cards now to take out minis. So.
It also, one of my favorite uses of it as well is it gives Goat and Fox the ability to take out Cinderella, which is really helpful as well.
Stout-hearted.
Stout-hearted,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, Merlin Crab, I think that's a good one as we wrap up and, continue to talk through the fun Ruby Amethyst cards. But
everyone loves Ruby Amethyst, right?
Well, we'll find out when we get to the card awards.
There we go.
So, quick spoiler alert there.
That I wasn't be spoiling. I haven't seen the.
No, I'm not saying results. I mean questions or things that will be answered.
Gotcha.
Spoiler effect, like questions that are coming. Okay. Let's do this relatively quickly here, but news, what's on our mind, league recap. I think it's fairly obvious. All of the cards now have been revealed. That's what's on our mind. Cards, new set, Into the Inklands comes out next week. That's what's on our mind. I think the biggest change for us this time is that, unfortunately, our local store is still not selling at MSRP. And so we made the tough decision to not buy from them locally, but to buy from an online retailer that will have the stuff come out on March 8th, I think.
Yes.
And so we won't have the majority of our stuff on release. I think we'll still probably do a stream next week because I am getting a trove, and hopefully I think we're going to get the mats in that we pre-ordered. So yeah, we'll have a little bit of stuff and maybe some loose packs to go over, to just kind of drive some of the release day hype, but we won't have the bulk of our stuff because unfortunately I saved $100 by going, to the online place. And so, I love supporting the local stores, but it's one of those things where if you didn't want to sell it for MSRP, then I'll find someone that's selling it for under MSRP.
I mean, at the end of the day, we gotta maximize how much we're playing and our decks and how much we're getting. So
we're on a budget, yeah. So
we are on a budget.
So anyways, yeah, that's enough about that. Cards, really quickly, what's your favorite enchanted?
My favorite enchanted is Kita.
Yeah, Y Breezy, shout out.
I shout out to him, but that's not why.
Like, no, I'm not saying that's why I said that.
Kita has been, I've watched... that came out a few years before I was born.
Kita's fantastic. I definitely can't argue with Kita. I think that's going to be a favorite for sure. I don't know what mine is. I love Kita. I love Maleficent. I really like Scrooge. I know a lot of people aren't super high on Scrooge because it's kind of just like a portrait. Jafar, I think most people are really high on. If I had to pick one, I'm probably going Maleficent, which is crazy because it's a villain and I'm not the villain sympathizer that you are.
Hey, I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I'm probably going Maleficent, and then if of the non-character enchanteds, which is the first time for that.
Which we just announced yesterday as of recording.
It was today, or was it? That was this morning.
No, it was this morning. You're right.
This morning. We kind of speculated that was going to happen. Pride Lands. Sorry, White Breezy. Cusco's Palace is fantastic, but Pride Lands is just one of the most iconic places there is. So I know you're an RLS Legacy guy. Nothing wrong with that.
If I pull that, I'm gonna be pretty hyped. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so I think that's where we are on that front. But yeah, cards next week, super hype. I'm really, really, really stoked. It's going to be really great to have all the new stuff to see how the locations are going to change the game. So I'm just really looking forward to that and getting off on a good start. And then lastly, really fast, we're, I think, both going to play in a win-a-box tournament for Into the Inklands tomorrow.
We're going to try.
So we're going to try to win a box for release day of Inklands.
So good luck to both of us, I guess.
If I want one of us to win, yes.
I doubt that I will.
I don't think I will either.
I have faith in you. I
don't think I will either, but one can hope.
I'd just like to say to Ravensburger real quick, just a few seconds here. Great job handling the release and announcements and reveals this time around.
It was really fun. I mean, I think they still started a little too early.
I don't. I think this was perfect. Honestly, I think this was perfect.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a tough one. I'd want like a solid month before, but I get it. You know, you got to get people going hype. But anyways, I digress. So, with that said, you ready for the Rise of the Floodborn Awards?
Should I get my announcer voice on? Should we act this like an awards show? Here we go.
If I could do that, I probably would. But okay, so there are 5 questions that I wasn't able to fit into the survey. Like I said, I picked a bad survey place or like
program.
Way to do it, and so I wasn't able to. And then I kept like causing problems, and it wasn't saving. And so it took me like 3.5 hours to get the survey out. And by that time, I was done, and I wasn't gonna go try to research a different way to do it. And so for next time, we'll have all of these questions in there, and we'll include locations and stuff as well. But so really quickly on the questions that I wasn't able to add, best art. I didn't add this one because it's like super subjective. But best art of the set, first thing that comes to mind, go.
Best art of chapter 2?
Yep.
Oh gosh, you go first.
It's a tough one. If we're going regular card, I'm going to say Peter Pan's Shadow. If we're saying enchanted card, I'm saying Cinderella Ballroom Sensation.
My answer is Ray.
Shocker. Best uncommon. So I went through the full list. I said best common card, best uncommon card, best rare, best super rare. I left uncommon off the list, and do you know why I left uncommon off the list?
Is it because goat is uncommon?
Goat is uncommon. That's exactly why I left it off the list, is because goat is uncommon. And so I assumed that most of the answers would probably like skew that way. So like if we look at uncommon cards, the best uncommon from Amber is probably Doc. I think goat beats that. If we're looking at Amethyst, you have Snake and Goat. Goat definitely wins that. If we look at Emerald, you've got like Bucky, which again's fine for discard, but not that great. If you look at Ruby, you've got Mother Gothel probably, which is again kind of fun, but definitely not on Goat level. Sapphire, Nick Wilde, and then Steel, you have like the Prince and Robin Hood, and so that was going to be a runaway. Goat wins. If we get into strongest card, so this one I felt like kind of like you answer throughout the other questions, you know, so like best legendary, best super rare, all those, I feel like you kind of get that answer through those. But I feel like, you know, Beast, Tragic Hero, Cinderella Stout-Hearted, Goat, Lady Tremaine. I mean, there are a bunch of good options out there, but again, I think strongest card is very subjective to what you're playing too. If you're playing Ruby Amethyst, be prepared is the strongest card, even though that's not chapter 2. If you're playing, you know, Steel Song, you know, that's going to be very different. And so, it's very different between what people are playing. So I didn't put that one in here this time, but we'll probably next time. Worst ink. I think we can all agree that, again, that one's probably Emerald, as much as I love Emerald.
I'm sorry. You know, maybe a little bit ago I would have said Sapphire, but that has recently got to rise up.
Sapphire has a lot of pairings now with all its ramp and Popsicle Draw. And then lastly, most annoying deck.
Oh, I wonder what that is.
I think we left that one off the list too, because I have a feeling this would be more or less a runaway. I bet there would probably be some Popsicle answers. I bet there would be a few Steel Song answers, but I would bet we'd have 75% at
least
Ruby
more than
Amethyst
that.
control. So anyways, those are the ones that left off. But let's like really, really get into it now. So starting from the top. First question.
Announcer voice.
I can't do it. I'm not gonna like try to make my voice crackle, or try to do that and then my voice crackle and me make fun of myself. So
it's all good. At least you tried.
We're going for it.
Oh wow.
Question 1, best enchanted. So I put them all on there. I gave the option. I gave all the options for everybody. Also, I want to say we had almost 100 votes. So for everybody, shout out to everybody that filled this out. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hopefully next time we can make it even bigger. But yeah, with that said, I will do this first one unless you tackle the second one. With 30% of the votes for this one, we have Cinderella Ballroom Sensation as the best enchanted art, which I personally agree with. That was my favorite from the set.
You know, I'm gonna have to agree as well. I don't know. It's just something about it stands out from all the other enchanteds. There's not really. in Chapter 2, I would say all of them besides Cinderella kind of fit within the same, like, vein. You know, they're kind of all similar-ish to their original cards and to each other. But Cinderella, she just stood out big time.
Very colorful.
Very colorful.
Like, super classic Cinderella look. So
Vibrant.
Get it, yeah.
And I think that's probably why everyone kind of agrees on that.
Yeah, and then maybe I should have done this first, but tied for second, third, and fourth place with 10% of the vote each was Arthur, Beast, and Alice.
See, Arthur would be my second, I would say.
Yeah, Arthur's definitely up there, I think, for a lot of people. So I think all of those fit very well. But yeah, I'm in agreement. The shout out to Lady Tremaine and Madame Mim that both got 0 votes. So,
sorry. If you love I'm a Madame Mim sympathizer. I like Madame Mim.
Of course you do. All right. Best common card. I guess since I didn't say all of the enchanteds because there was all of them, but best common card, I'll go through them real quick, or do you want to go through them?
I'll go through them. Cusco Wanted Llama, Ray, Fidget, Popsicle, Benja, in Eudora.
Yep.
Yep. I got it right.
Yeah. So those were the ones that we chose. Kind of trying to pick one from every color. You know, trying to make sure that we're covering like all the different archetypes of decks and everything. But I don't think this is any surprise at the answer. So take it away.
So the answer with 48% of votes is Popsicle.
That is correct.
So,
okay, say
I don't think I agree with this.
Okay, what's your answer?
My answer would be Benja.
I mean, Benja did come in second place with
18%,
basically 19% of the vote. So, I hear you. I'm kind of shocked that it was that big of a landslide, but think about Sapphire without Popsicle and Sapphire with Popsicle. I
understand completely where they're coming from. I'm not saying it's a bad decision by any means. I'm just saying that I think personally with what I deal with, like, you know, when I play against Still Song, it's like I wish I had an item removal for those stupid flutes. You know what I mean?
You can make an argument for Benja. I think you can make a better argument for Benja. The difference in my mind is that Popsicle changes the entire ink. Without Popsicle, there's so much less draw that you get from the ink. And so I think for that reason, Popsicle, plus it pioneered an entire deck called Popsicle. I think it's just a little bit more of an iconic card. But yes, Benja is extremely strong as well. Shout outs to Ray coming in a solid third place with 16% of the vote.
I would like to think that I had some part in that. And if you did vote for that just because of me, I appreciate you very much.
Okay, moving on. We already talked about uncommon. We kind of just crowned that to GOAT. So moving on to best rare, which before we get to everything, I will say is the closest race of all the awards.
And that's fair.
Best rare. So we have Cinderella Ballroom Sensation. We have Madame M. Fox. We got Prince John, Greediest of Them All. Gaston Powerhouse. We got Strength of a Raging Fire and Merlin Rabbit. So we'll go backwards on this one. We'll do it. So third place, we got Merlin Rabbit. I think that's very fitting. I think that's a really strong card, but probably not the best. In second place, we have Cinderella Ballroom Sensation. Again, I think super fitting, and I wouldn't have been up in arms if they had come in first. But with that said, in first place then, we're left with Madame M. Fox with 35% of the vote. So again, really close because Madame M. Fox got 35% and Cinderella Ballroom Sensation had 29%. So very close. Very, very close. Rabbit only had 16, so a little bit of a drop off to third place. But I mean, overall, those two were really close, and I can understand why because both of those are incredibly important for their given decks.
Absolutely. I'll let you go first with where you side on this.
I think it's too hard to say. I mean, I think that I think their importance to their given decks is about the same.
I think that's perfect. I think that's a perfect way to put it. There's really...
And so you have more Ruby Amethyst players, and so Fox got more votes.
Absolutely.
So Fox got more votes? I don't know. I mean, that would make sense to me.
I think that's definitely an awesome way to put it as well. I think I'll just agree with you on that.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. Best super rare.
So we got the Queen Commanding Presence, Arthur Wizard Apprentice, Lady Tremaine, Imperious Queen, and Cinderella, Stout-Hearted.
So, I mean, those are all like really, really good cards. I mean, we're in like the nitty gritty here. Like
This is the good stuff.
I don't think there's one of those that doesn't deserve to be there.
No, I don't think so. But for me, there isn't a clear answer.
I think there is, and since I'm looking at the results, I'm saying I agree with the...
I don't even have to look at the percentage. I
agree with the results of this,
so
I will say.
We'll go 3-1 here.
All right, go for
it. Third place, Cinderella Stout-Hearted.
Yep.
Second place, Arthur the Wizard Apprentice.
Yep.
And first place, Lady Tremaine, Imperious Queen.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with the order again there as well. I think Lady Tremaine...
You agree with the order?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think Arthur pilots all the aggro stuff these days. I think without, Arthur makes the aggro so much stronger. I think Lady Tremaine is the best... I don't want to say best remove. I mean, obviously, Be Prepared is the best removal card in the game, and I think there are some other good, strong contenders in there. But I think, like, Lady Tremaine caused Cusco's pick rate to go to basically zero because the ward didn't mean nearly as much anymore.
The big thing about her is that she's a character, so she's bounceable, right? That's
a huge part too.
That's a big thing about it.
That's a huge part too.
So she's reliable, even in the sense where you can't pick where she goes. She's still reliable.
It's gonna remove something.
It's gonna get something, and that is gonna be, a negative point to your opponent.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah, I mean, and usually you have a pretty good, a way to do some removal on their board, whether it be challenging into a removal so that you remove something more important, or, you're B-prepping, and so whatever, if they put down a big body, like that card changed the way that deck is played because you can't play a big body after Be Prepared because then they Lady Tremaine that big body.
I mean, this last league night, I was playing against an aggro deck, and with Tremaine, I banished a 1-cost Olaf, and it won me the game.
That's all that matters, yeah.
That's all that matters.
So sometimes it works. Or sometimes it does make the difference, like you said. So, yeah, I think that Lady T might be my favorite card in the set. Not, like, from a art standpoint or anything, but just I think the way that card changed the game,
Absolutely.
I think that's one of my favorites. So, okay, well, just going by the list here, it looks like I get Best Legendary. This is kind of a tough one because the meta's been in and out. There wasn't like a ton of good options, so I only put 3 on the list, which was Mufasa Betrayed Leader, Emo Beast, aka Beast Tragic Hero, and Scar Vicious Cheater. I think you could potentially throw some other like legendaries in there if you wanted to, but they're definitely not going to take the cake, and so I kind of left it to those 3 because they're the most 3 heavily played. I will say that this is by far and away the biggest landslide victory for any of the categories we have.
For sure.
And so I think,
and rightfully so, I think.
I think that probably tips the scale to giving everybody the insight into what was picked. But in third place, again, I think this is very fitting for the expectations. Scar Vicious Cheater in third, Mufasa Betrayed Leader in second, and of course that leaves Beast Tragic Hero in first, given the card's price, given the card draw, given the ability to take out really big bodies once he's been damaged. I think it's an incredible card with 75% of the vote. So.
And I think that speaks to Set 2's Rise of the Floodborn's legendary list. Like if you look at the 12...
There's better, that's a good point. There were better legendaries in Chapter 1, I think, than Chapter 2.
And I think even thinking, again, not thinking too far ahead, but I think they're even on Chapter 1 level with Chapter 3 is like...
Yeah, I mean, Chapter 1, you have Rapunzel, you have Elsa, you have Belle, you have...
Monstrous Dragon.
And
that's 4.
You have Ursula, you have... Gantu.
Sure,
no,
absolutely.
But I think that's like 5 or 6 I just named, and we're looking at like 2 that are like really good.
1, maybe 2.
Surfer Stitch.
Yeah, I think Set 2 just had a really interesting place with their legendaries, and with the Floodborn as well. It was a little interesting to see how they played it out.
Agree. So Emo Beast, aka Beast Tragic Hero, for the best legendary card. Moving on to to best item. So
Alrighty.
best item. This is a good one too. So
This one's interesting to me.
Yeah.
This one's interesting to me.
okay, so take it away.
All right, so we have the 3 items here. We have popsicle, flute, and spellbook.
Which, yeah, I mean,
You can't dispute that's the top 3. You definitely can't. Those are the top 3, I think, by far.
I don't think you can dispute that. Yeah.
Now, do you want me to go? I'll go through the order here, just so we can get to it.
Yeah, go for it.
So in third, we have spellbook, which out of the 3 I completely agree with.
With only 11% of the vote.
Which is, I think I agree with, because we have popsicle and flute.
Yeah, that's fair.
Second place, flute. First place, popsicle with 51% of the vote.
Flute, that leaves into second place with 38% of the vote. Again, is popsicle like incredible?
Yes,
Sure. Like
yes,
with
it
Hiram,
is.
you get 3 cards off of a single 1 cost item. Flutes get you lore though. I mean,
Flute, I'm sorry. Flute wins. Flute wins you the game. It wins you the game. I think flute. I was surprised that it. I honestly thought that the percentage was switched. I honestly think flute should take this.
Popsicle won. Yeah, I can't argue against you on that. I think there's an argument for all 3, to be honest. But flute, I think, does have more impact in the game. Like, to get to the end, to get to the finish line, flute obviously has way more impact in that. So,
and I'm not getting on you if you voted for popsicle. I'm just saying it's a really interesting conversation.
And your brother plays flute, and so I think you're probably a little tainted by that.
Oh, for sure, 100%. I just like to put out that I'm not getting on anyone that picked popsicle.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I'm just
absolutely...
giving some context to your perspective too. But yeah, I mean, I think you couldn't really go wrong with any of them. I think popsicle changed the entire ink.
Absolutely, and I completely agree with that statement.
Okay, I think this is my favorite award of the season.
I like this one.
Best Chapter 1 replacement. So, there were a lot of similar decks that ran, but, upgraded cards, if you will, from Chapter 2. And so I'll just take you through the list here. We said Madame Mim Fox over Rafiki. So, Rafiki was the rush character from Chapter 1 that went in there and did damage, and now you got Mim Fox that took his place. You have Lady Tremaine over Dragonfire. I think that's more of a, not quite replaced because there's still definitely Dragonfires played, but way more Lady Tremaines than Dragonfires. You've got Beast Tragic Hero over A Whole New World. That's not like quite a replacement because obviously they're both still played, but before Beast, the only real card draw that Steel had was A Whole New World, and so replacement in the sense of like you have another option to do card draw from that sense. Let the Storm Rage On over Smash. Again, both still kind of played, but I know that there's a lot more Let the Storm Rage On played than there is Smash played these days. And then Merlin Rabbit over Magic Mirror. A lot of people would play the Magic Mirror, and once you got to like turn 5, 6, you exert the Magic Mirror for 4 to get another card. With Merlin Rabbit, you kind of just play him or bounce him, and you get a card.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so in third place, we've got Merlin Rabbit, which I think is very fitting. As a replacement, I could make an argument for that being the best replacement card. Is it the best card? No.
Yes,
Is it the best replacement? Yeah, quite possibly.
Yes, because the top 2 here, their original cards, I think, still did their job very well, and similar to their replacements. But Merlin Rabbit over Magic Mirror, I think, was such a big upgrade.
I agree. I mean, again, I don't have anything to say about either of these other 2, but I completely agree with that. Yeah. So, that being said, in second place, with 30% of the vote, we have Lady Tremaine taking over Dragonfire. And again, that probably would be my number 1. But again, I think that depending on the deck type you're playing, depending on your style, it makes total sense. I think Lady Tremaine fits in more decks. I think you've got the Ruby Amethyst Control. You've got the Mufasa decks because you don't want actions or items in there. And so Lady Tremaine does that removal for you in like a Mufasa style deck. You've got the Pops. She's obviously a good removal on the Popsicle deck. So, I think she just is a little more versatile. Obviously a good replacement. And then finally with the award, the winner for Best Chapter 1 Replacement card is Madame M. Fox replacing Rafiki.
So that's an interesting first pick, I think.
I think so too. I think if, again, depending on the way that people read into this, we didn't explain necessarily like our thoughts. And so people that were voting on this might not have had the same mindset. I will say Rafiki not inkable, Fox inkable. That alone.
That's the biggest thing to me.
That is a massive
That's the biggest
leap.
thing to me.
The 4 strength over the 3 strength is huge. But obviously you have the bounce synergy. So if you're trying to bounce a goat to go knock into something, or you're bouncing a Lady Tremaine to go knock into something, or you're bouncing an Ursula so that you can continue to make your opponent lose lore.
But when you're talking in terms of replacing, I think the inkable, non-inkable is the biggest thing. Like that, when you're talking about that replacing it.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the biggest thing.
Because it allows you to play other important non-inkable cards like Spellbook or like Ursula or something else that's kind of made its way into a lot of these control decks. So,
but I will give a massive shout out to Merlin Rabbit here. That would be my first.
I think I would choose Merlin Rabbit too. And again, I think we might be thinking about it the question a little differently. But,
yes, absolutely.
Regardless, yeah, with 32% of the vote, you got Mem Fox overtaking Rafiki as the top replacement card. Okay, getting down to the nitty gritty here. We've got 3 more questions to go through.
Alrighty, I'm excited for him.
Most annoying card. Again, I think that this one we can kind of just talk about and go through real quick and move on, but we'll go. So, most annoying card.
So I think there's one that deserves a spot in here. Can I say that?
Yeah.
For me, it's Flute, because I hate that card.
Yeah, Flute could probably be in here too. But so shout out
to Flute.
Honorable mention.
Honorable mention Flute.
Sleepy's Flute.
All right, so we have Merlin Goat, Cinderella Ballroom Sensation, Mufasa Betrayed Leader, Prince John Greediest of Them All, Lady Tremaine Imperious Queen.
Yep. Okay. In third place.
In third place, let me look at the percentage here. Okay, third place is Prince John Greediest of Them All.
I think that's fitting.
I think that works.
He deserves the bronze medal.
Lady Tremaine Imperious Queen in second place.
Again, I think that's very fitting. Deserving.
And with 54% of the vote in first place,
drum roll,
Merlin Goat.
Merlin Goat. Yeah, not much to say there. Merlin Goat wins you games. You don't have to have a board. If you got a couple goats in your hand, you can win the game just from that. Really nothing to say. It's really tough to beat goats. So,
I mean,
goats win.
There's no arguing here. I don't think.
No, nothing. Okay, so I will say best sleeper deck. I will say that since I think we put this out like a month ago. I think some of these have made their way to maybe not so sleeper status.
I agree.
Since then. With that said, first option was Sapphire Steel Ramp. You've got Emerald Steel Discard. You've got Amber Amethyst Aggro. And then you've got Emerald Amber Aggro.
So, at the time here, I would say there's one in particular that is upgraded above sleeper status.
I would think so. And so we'll say that because it is the winner as well.
Yes.
And so in third place, you've got the Amber Amethyst Aggro, which again, I think has probably fallen off a little bit since then, but still a really good deck, I think, from that aggro side. You've got the Emerald Steel Discard, which I think is the perfect definition of a sleeper deck. Mm-hmm. Still really annoying to deal with. Can be hard if your opponent gets rolling with the Buckies and Prince Johns. But perfect sleeper deck pick. And then lastly would be the Sapphire Steel Ramp with 48% of the vote. I think that's the one you're talking about. It's not quite the sleeper anymore. I think it's probably one of the better decks in the set.
No, absolutely. I think it's done amazingly recently. I mean, I would say it's in the current meta right now. I would say it earns a spot, maybe top 5, top 3 in that conversation.
It got me to Platinum and Pixelborn. So if it can get me to Platinum and Pixelborn, it's got to be pretty good.
I would put it in that top 3 spot.
I think so too.
So I think maybe this isn't. Again, we did these votes a while back.
Well, and I would still say, I mean, you could still kind of give it a little bit of a sleeper status because I think Flute Song and Ruby Amethyst Control are still the top. If you were to ask
the top 2. Yeah.
What the best decks of the set would be, those would be the top 2. And then Mufasa, honestly, might come out there. Mm-hmm. And I don't even have Mufasa on here because I didn't even say it was really in the sleeper status. It's definitely
it's more well known
in the best deck, which we're gonna get to in a second. So, but yeah. So, anyways, best sleeper deck would be Sapphire Steel Ramp.
And I agree.
Yeah, because it's probably made its way onto the best deck list, which we're gonna get into now. Best deck, last award of this season before we move on to chapter 3.
This is our film of the year category. Is that?
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing here?
That's why we saved this one for last. So take it away.
All right. So we have Ruby Amethyst Bounce Control, Amber Steel Song, Ruby Amber Mufasa Recursion. I know how to read words.
You had it right the first time.
Sapphire Ruby Popsicle, and then Steel Amethyst Fighting/Bounce.
Yeah, so I think these, if you think about the top decks through like the length of the season or the chapter, I think that's why these are the 5 in there and not Sapphire Steel Ramp. Like Popsicle was very, very early on. Mufasa came out a little bit before the ramp, I would say. Steel Amethyst again, I think was like really close to the beginning of the year, which has been out a while now. And then obviously Steel Song and Ruby Amethyst are just long-term Lorcana goats. So.
Yeah, but that's why you saying that. It's a little interesting to see what is at the bottom of this list here.
I think yeah. So I mean, we'll just knock one off the list.
We'll do all 5.
Yeah, why
we
not?
Do all 5.
Why not? We'll talk about them all since this is the last question and we got a couple minutes left. So, Amber Steel Song only had 2% of the vote. So I think if I had to guess why, I would say really good players like Zach Bivens. Shout out Zach. I hope to have you on the podcast one day. He's still an incredible Steel Song player. I think you have to really have a feel for the deck now because it's a lot worse of a matchup against some of the top decks. If you don't know what you're doing, if you do know what you're doing, you can still do a really good job.
But I don't think that earns it last place.
I think it's better than Popsicle and Steel Amethyst Fight/Bounce. But yeah, I don't think it's probably last place either, but it is. So with that said, in 4th place would be the Steel Amethyst Fight Bounce of getting into the late game control with Elsa and Ursula. And then you have all the early game kind of board control stuff with your Erics and your Beast Tragic Heroes off of draw, and then obviously the bounce package. But yeah, I tried to use this one. I was terrible at it, and so I don't have a problem putting that one down on the list. I know a lot of people have had success with it. I'm definitely not one of them.
And no, I think that's what's cool here is like, even though there is one clear winner that we'll get to, there is, it's a 5 deck list. There's other decks to play in this game. I'll add in the Sapphire Steel deck that we talked about previous. Like this meta, I think was healthy.
Yeah,
I think it was healthy.
Yeah. Okay. So take away our top 3 here.
All right, top 3. Let me see the order here. Okay, so did you just do number 3?
No, I just did number 4. So we're on number 3, which is 4th on the list.
All right, we got Sapphire Ruby Popsicle. You can go ahead here.
I'd probably put it at the bottom now. I don't know. It's really good against a lot of stuff. It's terrible against Steel Song and Ruby Amethyst because they have passive lore generators, and even though you can keep a clear board with, it's not good again. It hard counters Steel Song, but I think everything else is a pretty good matchup against it, especially Ruby Amethyst. So if you're playing a control deck, I don't think you're playing Popsicle. I think you're playing Ruby Amethyst. So I would probably put it further down, but it took the game by storm at the beginning of the split. So I don't have a problem with it being 3rd. So. All right, I would say maybe a shocking 2nd place, maybe not a shocking 2nd place.
Ruby Amber Mufasa Recursion.
Yeah, I like that because that's what I played for about a month here. Had a lot of fun with it. It's an incredibly fun deck.
I think what's cool about it especially being in 2nd place, is that it's one of the more unique decks out there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's probably, I would say that and Popsicle and a form that was added to a meta deck that we'll talk about in a second. It was a new, different playstyle completely.
Very incredibly character focused, where all of these other ones have a ton of song / item / action, integration, where that's just a character deck. Like the version that I was running had 2 Be Prepareds, and the other 58 cards were all characters. So
I think that's what's really fun and unique about it. So I like it getting the second place here.
And I'm not even gonna like build up the hype here. First place, no joke, or no, not no joke, but no, the expectation, I guess, here is that Ruby Amethyst Bounce Control wins with 68% of the vote.
Of course it did. And this is coming from someone that has played it the entire chapter 2 besides the first 5 days.
It is obviously the top deck. Every other of these decks on the list, including Sapphire Steel, I think to a degree, have been born to counter said deck. Like, they weren't born out of, oh, this is a really good deck too. All of them, aside from Steel Song, I guess, because it was still really strong in chapter 1, everything else is pretty much born out of what can we do to try to counter Ruby Amethyst. So,
I mean,
and the sleeper decks too. A lot of those sleepers, like the aggros especially, deal really well with the bounce early on in your Ruby Amethyst control games. And so,
coming from a villain sympathizer here, this feels like the villain deck. This feels like
for sure,
a big bad final boss of a video game. This is the paradigm.
You have to be ready to beat Ruby Amethyst if you're going to win any tournaments or anything like that.
Absolutely. So. I mean, and it feels nice to play too. I'll just put that out there.
Oh, I don't like playing it. I'm decent at it. I've gotten better over the split.
I've gotten a lot better,
but
thankfully.
I still, I'm just not fantastic at it. But anyways, that covers the awards. That covers it. I don't think there's any real shocks. I think everything kind of fell in line with where I would have expected. I know the best item one is probably the most controversial with Popsicle over Flute. Maybe I guess you could throw in the Benja not getting the best common?
Herbs.
With Popsicle getting best common over Benja. But everything else, I feel like it. We've got a good group of listeners here, and they obviously know what they're doing because all the votes were, I think, spot on.
No, I think for the most part they were. So again, thank you for putting in all these votes. There's a crazy amount of votes that I was not expecting. So thank you to everybody.
I was hoping to have the might here. I'll leave it out, or I'll end the episode on this. My initial plan for this episode was for you to have a vote, me to have a vote, and the tiebreaker be the people, because my expectations were that we'd have 4 people vote.
Yeah, me too.
We ended up, like I said, I think over triple digits, and I mean the feedback on that is obviously fantastic, and so we pivoted and made the answers based on what everybody said, because there were plenty of votes to have a good population size for everything. So with that said, we're kind of wrapping up chapter 2 here with the awards. We're going to do kind of a chapter 2 retrospective looking into chapter 3 on Thursday, right before we launch into Inklands on Friday. But this is a good way to send out the set. So any final comments there?
No, I thank you, chapter 2. You've been good to us. Been good to me. You gave my favorite 2 inks the spotlight here. I appreciate it. Thank you, chapter 2. We'll see you guys next time.
All right, everyone. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.